How to make Kentucky Burgoo. Kentucky Burgoo is a traditional Kentucky stew made from various types of meat, vegetables, and chicken and beef stock. Making Kentucky Burgoo is a long process, but it will yield a delicious meal. To cook Kentucky Burgoo, you need to brown the meat and then add the other ingredients. Kentucky Burgoo can make a great dish for a holiday or other special event. Ingredients: 3 tablespoons 45 milliliters vegetable oil, 3 to 4 pounds about 1,350 grams of pork shoulder or country ribs cut into cubes, 2 to 3 pounds about 1,350 grams chuck roast, stew meat, or other cut of beef cut into cubes, 3 to 5 chicken legs or thighs with the bones in, 1 chopped green pepper, 1 large chopped onion, 2 chopped carrots, 2 chopped celery ribs, 5 chopped garlic cloves, 1 quart 950 milliliters chicken stock or broth, 1 quart 950 milliliters beef stock or broth, a 28-ounce 784 grams can of crushed tomatoes, 2 large potatoes, 1 pound 450 grams bag of frozen corn, a 14-ounce 392 grams bag of frozen lima beans, salt and pepper, 4 to 8 tablespoons 60 to 120 milliliters of Worcestershire sauce. Part 1: Cooking the meat. 1. Heat your oil. Measure your oil into a soup pot. Heat the oil over the stove on medium-high heat. To see if your oil is ready, drop something small like a grain of rice in the pan. If it sizzles, the oil is ready. 2. Salt the meats. While you wait for the oil to heat up, salt all your meats. This includes the pork shoulder or ribs, chuck roast or stew meat, and any other meat you're including. Salt all the meat generously on all sides. Wash your hands before and after handling raw meat. 3. Add the meats to the pot. Once the oil is ready and the meats are salted, place the meats in the pot. Add the different types of meat at once. As you're working with a lot of meat, you'll likely have to work in batches. Make sure you can still easily move and flip the meat after adding it to the pan. Overcrowding will prevent the meat from browning properly. 4. Brown the meats on both sides. Use a wooden spoon to turn the meats over to make sure they're brown on both sides. Move the meats as necessary to get them completely brown on each side. Do not flip your meat over until the side touching the pan is completely brown. 5. Remove the meats and set aside. Once the meats are browned, remove them using a spatula or slotted spoon. Place the meats in a bowl and set them aside for now. Part 2: Simmering the soup. 1. Cook the onions, pepper, celery, and carrots. Add your onions, peppers, celery, and carrots to the same pot you used to brown the meat. Turn the heat to high. Cook the vegetables until they're browned. You may need to add more oil if the vegetables start to steam or get stuck to the pan. Cooking times vary depending on the precise heat of your stove and type of pot you're using. 2. Add the garlic. As soon as your vegetables brown, throw in the garlic. Cook the garlic for only 1 minute before proceeding with the cooking process. 3. Add back the meats. Take the bowl with the meats that you set aside earlier. Add the meats back to the pot with the vegetables and garlic. 4. Stir in broth and tomatoes. Once the meat is back in the pot, add both the chicken and beef broth. Then, add the can of crushed tomatoes. Stir all the ingredients until they're completely combined and then salt to taste. 5. Simmer for 2 hours. Let the mixture come to a simmer. Then, reduce the heat on the stove to a lower setting. Cover the pot and leave the ingredients simmering for 2 hours. Check the pot periodically while it's simmering and do not leave the pot unattended. This is a fire hazard. Part 3: Finishing the burgoo. 1. Strip the meat from the bones. Use a spoon to fish out any pieces of meat that are attached to a bone. Strip the meat from the bones. Tear any larger chunks of meat into bite-sized pieces and then throw them back in the pot. Wait a few minutes between taking the meat out of the pot and removing it from the bone. Meat will be very hot when it's just been taken out of the pot. 2. Add the potatoes. If you have not already peeled and cut your potatoes, do so now. Then, toss the potatoes into the pot. Use a spoon to stir them into the remaining ingredients. 3. Stir in the Worcester sauce. Measure out your 4 to 8 tablespoons 60 to 120 milliliters of Worcestershire sauce and pour it into your mixture. Then, stir it into the soup until everything is combined. 4. Add the corn and lima beans. Add your 1 pound 450 grams bag of frozen corn and 14 ounce 392 grams bag of frozen lima beans. Stir everything together until the ingredients are evenly combined. 5. Finish cooking your soup. After adding the corn and lima beans, let the soup cook for another 10 minutes. After 10 minutes have passed, you can serve your soup. Kentucky burgoo is traditionally served with hot sauce and corn bread on the side.